This is my Howard Miller clock. So it's a ship's clock. Ship's bells is what it's called because it chimes. And so it chimes every half an hour, from 1 chime up to 8. And the reason for that is for when somebody's on watch on a boat. Usually you change the watch, have another person take over about every 4 hours. So it's set up to chime every 4 hours. It chimes 8 times, which indicates it's time for the watch person to change. And so I've done several videos on this clock. When I got it, it was not working well. It'd run a little bit and stop. And so I finally fixed the problem. There was a little tiny gear on the movement. The clock was made in Germany, but the movement is Swiss made. And the movement has this little tiny gear that was bent. So somebody had worked on this clock and they took it apart and they must have bent it, but well, watch, here it goes. It's chiming. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but it chimes late. So the big hand is past the 12. So it's real close, but because the person took this clock apart and working on these types of clocks, they're a real pain because when you put them back together, if you don't get them right, it won't chime right. So like the person missed it just slightly, so it's off. Now, I'm not going to take this all apart to fix that problem, but I do have an idea. So I'm going to take the big hand off, and it's got a square hole, so it goes on a square peg. That's the part that it attaches to. And so what I'm going to do, I got a bunch of these little tiny files, and one of them is square. So I'm going to see if I can take the big hand off and see if I can make that square hole shape it a little bit, so I can move the big hand back a little bit. It's not going to take much, just a small amount. And then I'm going to have a little rubber O-ring. It's not part of the clock, but it's on I got it on there now. It's on there. Because the big hand already had a little slop in it. So when I get done with the file, it's going to have even more slop. But the idea is to push it back a little bit. So when it hits the 12 or the 6, because that's where it chimes every 30 minutes, I'd like the big hand to be right on the 12 or right on the 6 and not a little bit past. It's driving me nuts. I don't know why, but this is how I am. So I'm going to give this a try, and I'm going to take the big hand off, and I'm going to go ahead and see if I can make that square hole a little bit bigger to give it a little bit more place. So, and then I'm going to have to figure out how to keep it there. The rubber O-ring, I think, might work. When I run the clock up, the big hand's going to move out of position from where I want it. But once I get it set and time set, then I can move the big hand back a little bit and then tighten it down with that rubber O-ring. I'm thinking will hold it. But if not, I may try some epoxy putty. The only thing is I don't want to glue that big hand on too good because I need to be able to take it apart if I ever need to take the clock apart and work on it. So I'm going to give that a try right now. If you've seen any of the previous videos on this clock and what I've gone through to get this thing to run, in my last video, I straightened out that little gear and got it to run. And so I wound it up 5 times. I dewound the clock completely, and then I wound it only 5 times because a lot of people say in old clocks, if you wind them all the way up, they might stop running. And I think really the main reason that would happen, the clock's worn out, and that's why it would stop running if you wound it all the way up. A brand new clock should never do that, and a well-maintained clock in working order shouldn't do that either. I think what happens is there's pivot plates inside the clock that the gear is attached to, and basically it's just a hole in a flat plate of brass, and the brass gear, there's holes for the gears to go into. There's no bearings or anything like that, and what happens is those the pivot plate gets wore out, and then you get slop in the gear. And I think what happens is then if you wind it too much, it might cause it to bind up, and that would cause it to stop running. That's not the problem that this clock had. It was that little tiny gear was bent. I dewound it. I noticed that gear was bent. I straightened it out, and then I only wound it 5 times, and it ran for several hours. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go ahead and wind it all the way up. So I wound the clock all the way up. I also, there's 2 springs in here that have to be wound. One's for the clock, the other one's for the chime. So I wound both of them all the way up, and it ran for 2 days, and then it stopped. It was like 4:20 in the afternoon, and it stopped, and so I was not real happy about that. So I picked it up and just shook it a little bit to get it going again, and then it ran for about a week and a half without stopping. So it seems to be working pretty good. It might just need to get broken a little bit, because I think the person that took it apart may have rebuilt it. Looked like either some shims that they placed in the pivot plate to take the slop out, or, and I'm not sure, or the clockmaker, Howard Miller, who was studying clockmaking in Germany, he made this clock in Germany, he may have revised the pivot plate and just beefed it up where because there's a couple holes where a couple of gears cause wear. Most of the gears don't. Just there's a couple that have a lot of pressure on them. So I think what he did was he either redesigned it and beefed that area up, or somebody else rebuilt the clock. But evidently somebody had taken this clock apart, because that gear got bent and it doesn't chime right on the half an hour perfectly. But like I said, the minute hand's off a little bit. It's enough to drive me crazy. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go ahead. It's got this little square hole in it, the minute hand. So I got to find the square file, and I got to see if this square file will even fit in this hole. I don't know if it will. If it doesn't, then I'm not going to be able to do this. Okay, now I got to find the square one, and that's it. Now I got to do this right. I don't want to go the wrong way. So I want the clock. Okay, it does kind of fit in there. Maybe enough I can make this work. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to push the big hand over a little bit and file it a little bit, and see if I can get this thing to line up where it needs to be. So I don't know if you can see the little square hole in this. So I'm going to go ahead and take this file, and I'm going to point the big hand towards me so I can make sure I get it in the right direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tilt the big hand back and file at the same time and kind of push pressure on it. I don't know. Let's see what I can do here. This may not be easy. So we'll go this way. It doesn't give me much to play with. This only, because this thing is pointed, it only goes in a very small ways. I was hoping to find I used to have some really small files, but I don't know what happened to them. This is not going to be easy. Man. I don't know if I can do this. It's almost like it's not easy. I think this is brass, I'm pretty sure. So brass file's pretty easy. I'm just going to have to just pull it out and twist it at the same time. Okay, I'm just going to do it a little at a time and see if that made a difference. It looks bigger, and it looks like it's change shape a little bit. Can I push it back? Yeah. Okay, so I made a little, looks like I made a little bit of progress on that. So I'm just going to keep doing it. I can't go back and forth. I kind of can, but I think it's best if I just pull it out like this every time. I wish this big hand was more adjustable. The little hand, there's splines and it's notched, and so you can adjust it a little bit. But this is a square hole, so you can't really make adjustments. And trying to just trying to make it work. So the clock, it keeps really good time. It does have an adjustment, and so I've been adjusting the speed of the clock, and I got it pretty close. So I think once I really get it dialed in, it should keep really good time. I think I'm about ready to go ahead and mount it on the wall, on the bulkhead that I have. The thing is I wound it all the way up, both springs, for the actual clock and for the bell, and the bell ran down first. So after about a week and a half, the bell stopped working because it wound all the way down, and I had the bell turned on the whole time. There is a lever that you can turn the chime off if you want to. And once I mount it on the bulkhead, the other side of the bulkhead is my stateroom where I sleep. And so I think once it's mounted on the wall, the sound is gonna go through the wall with the chime, and it might keep me awake. So I may have to just turn the chime off at night, if that's the case, or get used to it. And which would be nice if I can just get used to it. But so basically, when the bell stops working and it's wound down, but the clock's still running okay, then that's when I'll just go ahead and wind the clock and the bell all the way up again. So the clock should never stop. I'll know that it's time to wind it when the bell stops working, which will be kind of nice. I'm gonna test it again here in a minute. Feels like the file's going in farther, so that means the hole's getting bigger. Now, it's gonna, because I'm pushing on the big hand, it's gonna go way past before it chimes. Okay, right there. But now, I can see if I can move it back. Yeah, it's getting closer. So I should be able to get this to work. It's gonna be nice if I get it lined up, and it will look right when it chimes. It'll be perfect. I don't know, little things like this drive me crazy. You know, you want things to be perfect, and it gets to the point where, you know, it's not going to be perfect. Are you going to let it just drive you nuts, or just let it go? So, but if I can make it perfect, I'll try. Actually, I could probably drill this out with a drill and get it done a lot faster. But then it'd just be, I'd have to glue it on. And if I glue it on, the problem with that is, will I be able to remove this hour hand later? Because if I can't remove it, I can't take the clock apart. Oh, there's that damn train again. Drives me nuts. Man, I love that sound. Sounds like a big bell. It's a lot bigger sound than you think they could get inside this clock here. Between the crows, the seagulls, and that train, I don't get a moment's peace around here. Let's see if it makes a difference. It should chime here in a second. Yeah, it's going past. Let's see, it's not. Let's see if it chimes. There it goes. Okay. Look and see where we're at. I'm wearing the file down more than I'm wearing the big hand down. Good thing they gave me 2 square files. See if it's going to be closer anyway. Looks like it's already passed. There it goes. Okay. Oh yeah, that's better. I want to see how much. There it goes. Okay. That's really close. So it is working. It is working. So just keep doing what I'm doing. I should be able to get this. Pretty damn close. That's pretty close. I got just a little bit yeah, that's almost it. I think I just got a little bit more to go and I can make this work. Okay, I just about got it. This is gonna work for sure. It was just a hair off, just so slight. It was off by about a half a minute, 30 seconds or so, maybe a little bit more than that, 35, 40 seconds. The big hand would be past the mark, and then it would chime. So now I can get it to line up. It'll chime perfect on time. This beats the hell out of taking this clock apart. I didn't want to take it apart. There's so many gears in there, and if you don't get them right, putting it back in, I mean, I would have made a YouTube video on it if I would have taken it apart. So I would have had a video, but I would have had to take a still photograph of everything I did, every step of the way, to make sure I get it right, and that would slow the process down quite a bit. It looks like I'm going to have this, so it's almost to the 6. When it gets right on the 6, hopefully it'll chime. And I can just leave the little O-ring in there and use that to keep it where it needs to be, so it doesn't move, the big hand, because there's a slop. I tighten it down, it still kind of moves around, but with that O-ring it holds it. I'll see where I'm at. I'm almost there. Come on, come on. It's right on the mark. And there it goes. So it was one chime, but I would say that's pretty damn close. I can go just a little bit more. I'm this close, I might as well go all the way. So I'm going to go do some filing one more time, and it should be perfect. And then if I have to run the clock forward to set it, it's going to get out of alignment. So what I'll have to do is just, once I get it set to the time, I'll have to go past the time a little bit and then back the hand back up. If I use, like I was saying, I was thinking about some epoxy putty or something like that, then it'll hold it in place where it needs to be, and it'll be permanent, and then I can run the clock forward to set the time if it runs down, and it should stay in place. So that's probably what I'll end up doing. But yeah, I am so close. I'm going to go just a little bit more. I want it to be perfect. If I'm not this close, it might as well be perfect. So it was off just slightly. I mean, just. But it was just driving me nuts because, it wasn't pointing right at the 12. It was a little bit past the 12, and then it would chime. And same thing with the 6. And you could see it wasn't lining up. But like I said, this beats the hell out of taking this whole thing apart. I'm wearing these files out, it's the problem. Yeah, these files are wore out. I only have 2 square files. This one goes around, that's triangle, round. Wait a minute, here's another one. Oh, I have 3 square ones. Okay, here. Cool. So I got another square file, and it's I haven't used it yet, I don't think, so it should be good. Yeah, that's better. This will make it go quicker. Would have been easy if this file was a lot smaller and I can go all the way through instead of doing what I'm doing, because it's just, I mean, that's as far as it goes on. So I'm just trying to file it with the very end, but it's tapered, so it makes it difficult. There it is, but it's still off. It's just slightly off. So, I mean, it is so close. This last little bit's killing me. It's just, it's like whenever I work on projects, 95% of the project goes pretty quick, seems like, and then it's that last 5% seems like it just takes forever. And it's like almost everything I do is like that. So let's keep going with it here. It is working though. I mean, getting it closer and closer. I mean, it's really close enough to where I'm not going to be able to notice unless I'm up really close looking at it. But before I did this, before I filed on this thing, it was off enough that I could see it from across the room. So it was just, like I said, it was driving me nuts. It does something kind of bizarre also. It strikes the chime real soft about 10 minutes before the hour. And I don't know if it's supposed to do that. When I first got it, it really didn't do it. But I noticed that when I wound it forward to set the time, if I moved the hand fast, I could hear a real slight chime. And I adjusted the hammer that hits the chime, and I lowered it down a little bit, but I think if I raised it back up, it would stop doing that. But I kind of like it. I kind of like it to chime about 10 minutes before the hour, in case I want to watch the news or something. I know it's going to be on in about 10 minutes to get ready, so that way I won't miss anything. And it's real soft chime. You can barely hear it, just real soft. So it's no big deal. I may leave it like it is. I don't think it's supposed to do that. And I don't know why the hammer moves when it gets there to that point. That kind of don't make sense either. So we'll see what happens this time. I think it'll probably be good. It's slightly past the mark, but it's a lot better than it was. And I can't go any farther with it because I wore the files out. So at least I know I can do this, and it's definitely a lot better than it was. So I'll probably just get more files and get it perfect. It shouldn't take long. So, wow, that's really close. That's really close. I think I got it close enough that I can live with that. But like I said, I might get some more files, and it just, so slightly off. But I think it's close enough that once it's on the wall, I'm not going to notice it, and I'm sure nobody else will notice it. It's just that I know that what's going on with it. So there you go. I think it's perfect. God, I love that sound. So if you found this to be helpful or entertaining, please like and subscribe. Yep, I think I got it. Close enough. Cool. Right on. Okay. But now my hour hand's off a little bit. No.